All right. Well, good morning, everyone. You probably all know me, but my name is Todd Misfeld. I'm one of the pastors here at Christ Community Church. And on behalf of the church, I want to welcome everyone here to this seminar this morning, this workshop. Well, this morning, we're going to cover two different topics that many of us will have to face as our years advance. That is elder care, planning a celebration of life. Now, we will have two different presenters. First, we'll have Terry Young. Terry is a physical therapist by profession, so I think she'll have a lot of good insights for us. We will also have, second, we'll have Celeste Misfeld. That would be my wife. And she will lead us in thinking about end-of-life choices, particularly on the memorials. You know, what decisions have to be made? What can we write down that will be of assistance to those who are planning this, or maybe you anticipate planning this for someone else? And making your desires known is a great gift for those who have to plan this service. And it's one of a couple of things you can do to really be considerate to those people. And Celeste is a memorial care coordinator here at Christ Community Church. And they'll tell you more about their background as we go on. So let me begin this time with a word of prayer. So please join me. Dear Jesus, in the book of Ecclesiastes, the teacher writes, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Lord, we confess some of these seasons are times that we do not look forward to, but yet, as part of life, we may face them. Lord, we take comfort in the knowledge that you are there with us, walking with us, comforting us, and guiding us no matter where our path leads us. We have your word to guide us. We also have the blessings of the people who are experienced in these seasons of life and who are willing to share their knowledge, so that we might be better prepared to face these times. So we ask that you bless this morning, enlighten us with what we need to know to be prepared, and inspire us with the wisdom and determination to take any next steps. We thank you for this, Lord, and all the blessings that you provide us. You are such a good, good God. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you for coming here. My guess is that you're here because you or somebody that you love is not as strong and independent as used to be. And so we want to try to take the time this morning to learn about what are some options we have to help support a person living at home. I might be using you, your parent, mom, dad. All these are interchangeable because some of you are the moms and some of you are the caregivers. And so I hope that you'll be able to exchange the proper pronoun to apply to you no matter what I say. So, and this has been going looping around, and you've seen this one for a while. In your folders on the left-hand side is pretty much what I'm going to be talking about. What's on the right-hand side is the celebration of life information that Celeste's going to be talking about. And because we had more people who signed up had told us they're coming before we had all the handouts, I wanted you to be able to access this digitally. And also, if you want to click on links digitally with your cell phone, the elder care handout is at this UR address and the QR code. Learning lots of things this time. And it's been here for so long. This disclaimer is basically, I'm not a doctor or a lawyer, so I don't claim to know the medical and legal things that may apply to you, and also the resources that I have listed at the back of your handouts and my last slide. You'll have to check out those things because what I researched and found out may be for yesterday or a week or two ago, and you'll need to confirm what's there. So that's my disclaimer. So how did we get to today? This church is known for our ministering to children, But why are we having this? You guys don't look like children to me. Well, I'm a physical therapist, and I also took care of my mom, who was a elderly person who had a stroke and after a surgery. And so what I went through with her was something that my brother said, you need to share with other people so that they don't have to learn from ground up. So as a home health physical therapist, an outpatient one, also having worked in the hospital, nursing home, pretty much the whole gamut, I want to share also from that perspective. And what I went through with my mom, she was a really strong believer in God. And when we were in the hospital and trying to find out, oh my gosh, she had a stroke. She can't swallow anymore. Day 1, 2, 3, up to day 10. What are we going to do? So fortunately, we were blessed that she and I had this discussion before the surgery of what would she want if something else happened. And she couldn't say for herself what she wanted. And one of the things she said is, I wouldn't want to have to be fed through a feeding tube. So having filled out an advance directive that looks like this, because she's a Kaiser person, we were able to, my brothers and her physicians were able to, with assurance, say, let's take her home on hospice rather than giving her a feeding tube. So in a little bit, we're going to talk about advance directives, and you're going to be able to fill one out if you have not already done so. But I wanted to share that my mom faced death fearlessly because of her hope in Jesus and knowing that she had eternal life. And John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him will not perish but have eternal life. So she looked forward to that eternal life with Jesus, and that gave her the strength to face death fearlessly and actually joyfully, because she's going to meet her Savior and her husband and son on the other side. Well, we took her home on hospice, but she didn't go to heaven that time. God had other plans for her, and she stuck around for almost 4 more years. She graduated after 3 months, and she required 24/7 caregiving after that, and that's some of the things that my brother and I had to navigate through. She was never able to regain the ability to carry on a conversation. If I brought her to church, you would just hear her say, long time. She hadn't seen you. Long time. She had a few phrases, but she couldn't really carry on a conversation. But she could pass out her booklet, The Bruised Reed, which told everybody how God had provided for her. So with all that, let's go on. And we're going to talk about medical insurance, the Advanced Healthcare Directive, supports for living at home. What are some housing options, vet help? Hopefully we'll have time to go over hospitalization, when you should go, where to go afterwards, and what is palliative care, comfort care, and hospice. There's a bonus section because I prepared so much stuff, I realized I don't have enough time to say it all. So I put those slides in the bonus section. Maybe there'll be a part 2. And I want to have time for you to have questions and network a little bit. So that's a lot that we're going to try and pack in here. For medical insurance, if you are employed or a vet, you want to check with your employer or with the federal government. If you're 65 years of age or older, Medicare is something that you have available to you. If you are turning 65, 3 months beforehand, you need to start looking at who to sign up, where to sign up, which thing you have. You do not want to delay signing up for Medicare because there's a penalty if you think, oh, I'm going to save $50 if I wait and sign up later. They are going to make you pay a higher premium when you do sign up, and that higher premium is going to last the rest of your life. So this is a penalty you don't want to face. Make sure you find out. I've heard that there's some way of getting around it, but make sure you check it out because that's a penalty you don't want to deal with. It does not cover everything. So if you either know that you're going to have to pay for something in addition to Medicare or get a supplemental insurance to cover the difference. If you're under 65 and you live in the state of California, you can apply under Covered California. Sorry, this is advancing. Okay, Covered California is a free service online that will give you a variety of insurance companies that are appropriate for you. They'll give you multiple choices. And if you are eligible for Medi-Cal, it will also tell you that you can use Medi-Cal. Please don't advance. Medi-Cal is the California version of Medicaid federally. It's used to be where you had only, you could only be eligible if you had under $2,000 in the bank. That is not the case now. They changed the laws this year. I think it was this year, maybe it was last year, recently, to $130,000 of assets for the first person. In your household, your spouse can also have $75,000 extra, and for other household members. So that cap is way higher now than it used to be. And if you are at all thinking you might be interested, apply, because there's a lot of benefits for Medi-Cal that those who are in that middle range where you can kind of get by, you don't have that kind of coverage. Things like long-term nursing care, housing, caregiving with in-home support services, dental, eye benefits, groceries. There's a lot of things that Medi-Cal opens the door for you. And it can be combined with your Medicare or your other insurance. So it picks up all the whatever they don't cover. I have in the back of your elder care challenges and health challenge handout a set of resources, 3 pages of resources. So things that I talk about are in here. And then if you go to the very end, you can see there's a person who does at Medi-Cal application eligibility interviews and works with them. He's a personal friend of mine, Peter, and he gave me his email address. So if you want to email somebody and say, hey, should I even consider this or what's out there, email Peter. He's at the back of this resource page. And you'll find lots of resources here as I talk. You don't have to take notes copiously because most of what I have on the slide is in your handout. I just don't have pictures there. Long-term care insurance is one option that some people are able to use and take advantage of. And that kicks into place if you're paying monthly premiums. Then when you have a need for activities of daily living help, then you can file for a claim. Caution, they can be denied even though you file them. You must have at least 2 items of activities of daily living that you are having a lot of difficulty performing. Eating, self-feeding, dressing, showering. Those things are listed up here, transferring, toileting, or you have severe cognitive impairment. Those things are the triggers that long-term care will need to, will be able to pay out only if you have those items. Another thing is that family members often are not eligible to be the ones that are getting paid for the long-term care benefit. Another caution is premiums may rise every year. There are people who pay 10 or 15 years worth of premiums and then go, this is getting too expensive. They stop and they lose all that previous payments because they don't want to continue. So some people will just say, okay, I'm going to take that premium and invest it and hold on to those 10 or 15 years or whatever it is and self-pay when that need comes. We have on the back side of the table a reference section. There's a printout of long-term care insurance policies, statement that the state of California has for what they're required to have and when they need to pay and things like that. The left side of the table are references that you please feel free to look at. The right side of the table back there are the handouts for those of you who don't have computers and can't print. Otherwise, the resource section I have is really good for finding links and printing things on your own. So let's talk about the Advanced Healthcare Directive. Another name for it is Healthcare Power of Attorney. What is it? It's something that you're going to have two things in it. One is you're going to be able to make your wishes known for what you want when you can't say things for yourself. And the other is you're going to name who is going to carry out what you decided you wanted. Why do you need an Advanced Healthcare Directive? It used to be when you died, people would just accept it and mourn over you. Now they don't. They want to say, okay, I got to pound on your chest and see if I can make it start working again, or I got to start breathing air into you, or hook you up to a machine if you're in the hospital and put that on you. So if you don't want that, you need to write it in your Advanced Healthcare Directive. If you want to just die naturally, then that needs to be stated. Otherwise, the paramedics who come to your house, they're required to do this extra stuff. Another question is, do I need a lawyer to make sure that this is legal? If you are a worrier and you want to make sure that it is legal and you want to spend a few hundred dollars, then go to a lawyer. For that peace of mind, it'll be worth it. But I want to tell you that I used two of these advanced health directives that were not through the lawyer. The first one was my mom's, and she's a Kaiser member. You can go to kp.org and /life plan. That's also in the back. And they will guide you, whether or not you are a Kaiser member. They will guide you through the thought process and take more time than we will this morning about what to put in this handout, this form. There are two forms. The one in your folder is the short form. It is very concise, and it is from California Probate. So I wanted to give this form to you so you'd have that. If you want to take the URL code, go home with your computer and type that in, you can type in all the answers rather than handwriting it on your form today. So that's your option. That's what's in your folder. The other one is the Kaiser one. Kaiser will give a bigger picture to your family of what your values are, what matters to you. It's a lot more pages. So if you want that, there are some copies of it in the back of the back table, right-hand side. Pick up one of those. Feel free to get up now or whenever you want to. Get one of those, and we'll start filling that one out. I'm going to talk about both of them. So please take one of these out. Take the one out of your folder, or if you want the extended version, go back and pick one out, because we're going to start filling out some of these things. Okay? First thing you're going to think about is who's going to be your decision maker if you can't tell people who your wishes are. Some people will choose their spouse. Some will choose their adult child. Some will choose their sibling. You want to choose somebody who can understand medical jargon enough from the doctor that when the doctor says, should we do this procedure or surgery or not, that person needs to understand that. That person also needs to be able to honor your wishes and not their own. Somebody who, if your wishes is to not do procedures at a certain time, that person needs to be able to make the hard decision and honor your wishes and not their own. That person also needs to be emotionally stable so that they can handle this. It's going to be a stressful time if you're incapacitated. So think carefully who your agent should be and write that person down. Now, we don't know when that person or if that person will ever need to help you and be that agent for you, but that person may become incapacitated or unavailable to help. So you need to have alternates. That's what comes underneath that slot. Okay? In Kaiser, you have one page for your healthcare agent, and then the second page is your alternates. You have first alternate and second alternate. And in the other one in your folder, it's all on one page. And you will write down if the first one cannot perform the duty of an agent, then who's number 2? And if that person cannot, who's number 3? Then the next thing, we're going to kind of move a little bit faster, but you can think about this and fill this in later, or you can jot it in and then get another copy and change your mind later. Next thing is, when do you want that agent to make those decisions? Now, immediately, or only if you become incapacitated? There's a box that you will check if you want it to be when immediate. If you don't check anything, then it's automatically going to be only when you're incapacitated. Okay? Consider what's important to you. This is where the Kaiser document gives you more space to write in what's important to you. What do you do on your good days? Finish the sentences here. Life would no longer be worth living if I was not able to consider. Breathe on my own? Whatever is important to you. Life would not be worth living if I had to. So you can fill those out in the Kaiser form, or you could actually write it down. There's a space on the second form, 2.3. That's in your folder. You could write in that blank space. And any of these forms, you can cross out what you don't agree with or add what you want to. The next question that both forms have is, would you want to prolong your life if you are terminally ill, incurable, unconscious, unlikely to recover, couldn't recognize yourself or your loved ones, and were only alive because of a breathing machine or a feeding tube? There's 2 boxes to check. One is prolong it, and the other one is don't prolong it. So see which one you want to check. Okay, I am going to find what CPR is, because that's the next thing Kaiser has a question on. So you have a choice of if you want CPR at all. You can say, I never want it. You can say, I always want it. Or you can check the third box that says, I don't want it unless, or I do want it unless. So read through that.
CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation,
Thank you.
performed in a television show or movie. But CPR looks much different when it is performed in real life. It is important to know what you can expect from CPR and whether it will help. CPR is a medical procedure which tries to get the heart beating again if it has stopped. It begins with pressing deeply on the chest 100 times per minute. Medications are then given to attempt to restart the heart pumping on its own. Sometimes the heart is shocked with a defibrillator. Because a patient needs oxygen during this emergency, a breathing tube is placed through the mouth and into the lungs. This is connected to a machine called a ventilator, which pushes air into the lungs. Attempting CPR can be life-saving if done at the right time and in the right situation. For example, after drowning or a heart attack. But it is important to know that for patients with advanced disease, such as end-stage cancer, end-stage heart or lung disease, or those nearing the natural end of life, CPR can be a traumatic experience and not helpful. CPR does not improve the disease and usually fails to restart the heart. In these situations, patients and families often choose to be protected from CPR, as it could be very uncomfortable. Your care team can support you in considering what kind of treatment you want in an emergency. CPR may or may not be a good option given your medical condition and what is important to you. Talking with your care team and asking questions will help you know what kind of care is best for you.
So those were situations if you were in the hospital. If you were out you would be getting mouth-to-mouth resuscitation or a bag that's breathing air rather than all the things that are listed here. So make that choice if you want CPR or not, realizing if you have fragile bones, you could end up, well, not even very fragile, considering how hard you have to push. It is a common thing to have fractured ribs, or less common, you could also puncture a lung because the bone then goes through the lungs. If it's been more than 5 or 6 minutes, could be brain dead. You could still be comatose, but alive and kept alive with feeding tubes as well. So those are things that can change. The other thing I wanted to say about advanced health directives is it's not something that is etched in stone. It's applicable for where you are today. If 5, 10 years from now, or however many years, your medical condition changes, you've suddenly become terminally ill, you may want to change your healthcare directive. So that's nice that you can do it for free. So share your values and your wishes with your healthcare agent and your physician. There's an organ donation page. You can skip it or you can fill it out. If you skip it, your agent or a physician will decide when you've already passed. And then you can validate your form with 2 witnesses. If you want to get it done today, grab 2 people afterwards, have them sign it, and you're done. Or you could also go to a notary and have them do it later. 1 witness may not be related and has to sign that they are not related to you. Make copies for your physicians, your agents, and your family, and then update. Now, if you have decided that you do not want to have CPR, you may want to fill out a form that looks like this called a POLST. And this one, your doctor has to sign and do with you, and you put it on your refrigerator or somewhere where if somebody calls 911 and the paramedics come, they see that form and they say, oh, I'm not going to resuscitate this person and do CPR. And you make your wishes known on this form, okay? Now, we get to do more PT-ish stuff. Let's take Jo, who's living at home, but has fallen several times. She's got mild dementia and sometimes forgets if she's taken her medications or not. What can we do to make her safer at home? That's what we get to talk about next. First, we're going to fall-proof the home as much as possible. If you have stairs in the home, we can take blue painter's tape, tape the bottom, the upper edge of the stairs so when they go up, you can know when it ends. Tape the top edge, looking down that edge, so when you go down, you can see that edge. If you have scatter rugs, get rid of them. The walker leg or your toe can kick up on it, it flips over, and next thing you know, you got a trip and a fall. If you need to have a mat for some reason, like over wires, get a rubber-backed mat or something that's heavy-duty and won't kick up at the corners. You could also get duct tape and tape around the edges of your carpet. Make sure you have plenty of light. Siri on works, or remote control lights. Make sure if they're manual that it's easily reached. Eliminate clutter, trip items, clear your pathways. Pets fall in that clutter category, sorry. You want to keep pets away from your elders, where elders walk. If you haven't picked a place yet, pick a place that has wide wheelchair accessible 36-inch doorways, because it can be a bear to get through those narrow ones. You might have to take the door off or get these special hinges that make the door open a couple inches more and avoid scraping those knuckles when you go through or having to turn the walker and go in sideways. Commonly used items you want to put where you can reach it, not high or where you have to stoop down and fall and lose your balance. Lots of adaptive equipment, and I am not going to exhaust them today. I'm going to just talk about the major ones. So my neighbor has a walker that's too tall for her. That's not a good sample, but I wanted you to see her tray, because when you have a dinner plate to carry from this place to that, it's nice to be able to put it down on a tray like that. She's got a carry bag. She can throw things in, like her long tongs that she uses to reach things that fell on the floor and she's unable to bend down and get. The cane, if you don't want to lay it against something and have it roll over, you can have little tripod at the bottom. This one, I first learned of the hurry cane in the hospital when a patient was able to just stand it up and it stayed there. The height of your walker and canes should be at wrist level when you are standing with your hands at your side. That way, when you bend your elbow a little bit, you're able to put your hands on the handle there. When it's up here, you don't have as much power. And so you want to have it low enough. I've pictured two different walkers here. In general terms, I would generally say the front wheel walker is good for inside the house, so the back legs don't scrape on cement and get caught in things. And then the four-wheel walker is better for using outside the house. So depending on how mobile your senior is, you have different options. That one on the far right has what we used to call the Cadillac when it first came out, because it has a seat that you can sit in, and it has brakes that you can squeeze. But this person needs to not be relying on the walker so much that they're like this, because that walker can just roll away and they'll end up falling with that walker, and it can be more dangerous. So see your physical therapist for specific recommendations if in doubt. If you need to take your care recipient to the doctor's office and everything's paved, a transport chair is nice because it's light to get into your car. And if they can stand up and get over into the chair easily, that's a good choice. If you're going to the park and you're going to have dirt pathways or bumpy cobblestone type of things, you're going to need something more heavy duty, like the wheelchair on the right. That wheelchair is also good if your senior is unable to stand up and get over that armrest, because that armrest can be removed, so your senior only has to swivel their hips over from bed to the chair and not stand up all the way. The same thing can be used in other equipment as well, looking at armrest being able to be removed. Ramps are really good to have over stairs, or you can even get short threshold ramps to ease the bump getting in the house. If you have stairs, put in some hand railings, ideally two, one on each side. If your senior can climb up the stairs, that's good exercise, but if it's too hard to do so, consider elevator or chairlift. The room where the most falls happen is your bathroom. So if you can put bars in there, do so. Put them in your bathtub, put them by the toilet, put them anywhere that a senior may need some place to put their hand on. I really like on the far left this bedside commode. It's a 3-in-1. So first of all, you can use it as a bedside commode, especially at nighttime. When we wake up at nighttime, I say we because I'm getting to be a senior too. You can kind of have a little bit of balance problem. So rather than going all the way to the bathroom and falling on the way, a bedside commode can be nice to have. Now, if you take away that bucket, you can take this bedside commode and put it over your toilet. Then you have something that's raised, it's elevated, easier to sit down and get up from. You've got a handle, 2 handles that you can push off of and lower yourself on. That's number 2 option. The third option is you could put it over on the right side where there's a shower and use it as a shower chair. And the nice thing is if you see that removable shower head, handheld shower head on the right, you take that down and lo and behold, you got your bidet. You can wash from the underside. So this was one of the patients that I saw in their homes, and I said, I love your bathroom, your shower. Can I take a picture of it? So she said, sure. Bars, chair, handheld shower, and a non-slip bathroom mat, bathtub mat, okay? Make sure you've got something won't slide in your clean bathtub. In the middle, we have a picture of a gal using a shower bench. This you can sit on with both feet on the outside and then put one leg in at a time to get into the bathtub. There's a lot more equipment that you can use. See your occupational therapist for more details. Now, sometimes people roll around a lot at night and they can roll out of bed. So a railing is really nice to help prevent that fall from happening. If you have an extension like the one on the left, that can help keep them in. Maybe they're a wandering senior and you don't want them to get up. So that helps them stay in longer. The one on the picture on the right shows more for there for support. And after you stand, you have something to hang on to as well. So for our seniors who are unsteady but don't ask for help, sometimes we need to put an alarm on them. You can get something that clips to their shirt and then the alarm on the chair, so when they get up, it pulls the alarm. Bed alarms can give false alarms, so that's why not everybody will use an alarm that's actually in your bed. When they roll, it could set it off. So for our family, we chose to get a security floor mat, the kind that when you walked in the store doors, you walked in and stepped on the mat and then it would go boom, boom, and then the storekeeper would know, I got a customer. Well, we got one of those and put it next to the bed so that when her feet hit the ground, we would know. We put a floor mat, one of these Target $10 ones over the top of it, and it was an economical way for us to know when she was getting up out of bed. You can spend a couple $100 and get a senior medical device as well. We used Costco security cameras in multiple rooms of my mom's in order to see her remotely. My brother could see her from Washington and I could see her right here. You could use a baby monitor, a pet monitor. One thing that we set up was using Messenger or FaceTime with mom. And it brings joy to your heart. You know, no matter what age you are, if you see have a video call with your kids, you love it. If you're hard of hearing or you're having a hard time communicating, it's even more precious to be able to see by FaceTime or Google or Messenger, a lot of different apps. And you can also use it to help you with monitoring medications. So medication management is a huge thing. If you overdose or you have missed a dose, then you can end up with having no, it could be fatal. So if you can get a medication box that's like this, it has 7 days marked out, and each day has its own compartment. You can have your loved one fill it up if you're remote, and then you can count the number of pills in it, make sure it's set up properly before they start the week, and then on your video call, you can say, hey, let's see your medication box. How come you still have lunch in there? It's dinner time and lunch is still in there. You forgot it. So it makes them accountable if they have an organized box. Okay. There are rehab options to help with your mobility, balance, and things. You will need a doctor's order for either outpatient rehab or home health services, but those would be available to you. Nurse, physical therapist, occupational therapist, social worker, home health aides, a lot of things they can help you with. And there's transportation, go-go grandparent, VTA. In your folder is also a list of all the caregivers that, not all the caregivers, of many options. Kaiser had one list with 6 pages that covers a lot of things. Please look in your folder and see that. It includes transportation and a whole bunch of adult day health care programs, Meals on Wheels, Sometimes it's an uphill battle to care for your loved ones, and you may not have 3 grandkids to help you. So, where do you go for help? If you have Medi-Cal, you might be eligible for in-home support service help. Here, even your family members can be paid to help you. Vets, sometimes they might have to be wartime vets, but they and their surviving spouses can have like 6 hours of service weekly, because I know somebody who has that, but I don't know how you qualify for it. There are agencies who employ caregivers. There are agencies who refer caregivers. So again, look in your resources here, and there's some resources in the back as well. Friends and family, and look at the resources that are in your handouts, in your folder, and in the back. So what about the caregiver? Sonny's working full-time, but his mother is seriously ill and needs his help. How can Sonny afford to help? There's sick leave and PTO, and then we just mentioned the in-home support service. If mom or the care recipient has Medi-Cal, you might be able to be paid for what you're doing to take care of mom. So find out if mom or dad are able to have Medi-Cal. You are also eligible for California paid family leave. And this pays you up to 8 weeks to care for your family member. If you look in your pay stub and you see that you've had deducted state disability insurance along with your Social Security, you are eligible for their benefits, both as a disabled worker and as if you have a newborn or an elderly that you need to take care of. And then job security is for those given to you with the Family Medical Leave Act. Working together. As a parent, make sure your son or daughter, whoever, your agent has a healthcare durable power of attorney, or that you fill out a medical record release form, depending on who your doctor and insurance company is. Because of HIPAA privacy regulations, your doctor cannot just talk to your child, to your son or daughter because they ask. They've got to have your permission. If you've had a stroke and you can't give your permission, that's when the durable power of attorney comes in, your advance directive comes into play. Same thing with the financial part of things. They cannot just go to the bank and say, I need to pay rent. I need to do this for my loved one who is now incapacitated. You need to have a financial durable power of attorney that is effective even if you are incapacitated. Attend doctor visits together because it's difficult to remember what's discussed. They're usually after summary visit notes, and if you read that, you might find out something about medication that you forgot about. Work with siblings for parents' caregiving. Rotate, designate responsibilities. So when is independent living not safe? If you find your loved one is tripping and falling and getting injured more frequently than before, if their health is declining, if they don't want to take showers anymore and their house is starting to get dirty and cluttered and they're depressed or lonely, they forgot to turn off the stove and they took a walk and forgot how to get home, the medication's not being taken appropriately, those are all warning signs. What are your options? You can live with friends or families if they'll open their door for you. You can go to a residential care home. You could receive personal care, meals, and have 24/7 assist at a residential care home. For senior housing, you could have the third one, which is a continuing care retirement community where you pay one-time entry fee and a monthly maintenance fee in exchange for lifetime housing and access to either independent living, assisted living, or other. The assisted living is where you pay extra fees for each service that you need. They may even charge you per medicine that they give you. It can rack up pretty fast, and insurance doesn't cover that. Skilled nursing facility is another option, but usually that is going via the hospital. If you go to the hospital and stay 3 days, then Medicare will kick in and cover your next 100 days in the nursing home. Medi-Cal covers long-term residents in a nursing home, so that's another reason to apply for it. There are registration agencies that assist you with finding what's the appropriate housing as well. Veterans and their spouses have benefits, and you'll have to check with your VA services, or there are services, one in your handout, that helps you check into what is available for your particular case, whether you're a wartime vet or an other time vet. Thank you for your service, by the way. You can have medical coverage, home modifications, equipment, caregiver support, housing, nursing home housing, and a flag or gun salute ceremony and burial site benefits. We're going to talk about Margie, who has cancer and suffered a stroke. She is what we call having terminal illness, and the doctor suggested she has palliative care. So what is palliative care? It's focusing on symptom relief, support, and comfort to seriously ill people and their families. You could still be treated, but the main emphasis is on symptom relief. Comfort care and hospice are very similar, but because we're not looking at treating and curing. If they're in comfort care, they're in the hospital already, and they're going to stay in the hospital until they pass. Death is imminent, and in order to be comfortable, they stay in the hospital, maybe have IV or nursing care. Hospice is when the doctor thinks that the person only has 6 months to live, and there, again, it is not for cure, but it is to provide comfort and pain management. So we will save talking about more about hospice and end of life for another time, but I wanted to leave you more with encouraging scriptures. I want you to be able to face death fearlessly, or at least with not so much panic. Psalm 23:4 is, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And I love Philippians 4:6-7 when I'm worrying. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you can experience God's peace. That passes anything we can understand. And then I want you to go away with hope if you're weary or weak, because He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Isaiah 40:29. So thank you for coming, and I want to give thanks to all our deacon team for providing our refreshments, to Celeste for being the engine that said, let's do it this spring. Let's not do it in the sweet by and by. Let's have this. April 29th, yes. And she's been the chug-along organized person that make us keep going. And thanks to so many of you who have talked to me and told me about what you need help with and kind of geared me towards what to talk about today. There's a survey in your book, a booklet in your folder that I would love for you to fill out. Write in it what your needs are. Perhaps if you want to know more about what hospice is, or you want caregiver referral, or you have a caregiver that you could refer, write those down. I want to network with others who are veterans, who are facing dementia, Alzheimer's. Write down how we can better serve you by what you're facing. And if you wouldn't mind being a resource, please put your name in there and tell us, I live at a home, a certain place, and I would love to share about that. Please let us know about that. And I have to thank my resources and flash it up there. A lot of resources that I used. And then we're going to open it up for questions and answers and pottying and getting refreshments. So during this time, if you have questions, please ask, but please also take this time to go, because we want to give Celeste some time to do the celebration of life in about 10 minutes or less. So are there any questions? Thank you. Okay, Sunny? Oh, the PowerPoint, yes. I will try to get it on my drive. So if I have your email address, I'm going to go to the very beginning where there's my email address. If you send me an email, I don't have my email address. There, I have it. If you write to terryy+@gmail.com, or there's another one I have out there, and ask me for it, I will see that you get the PowerPoint. We are also recording this morning's presentation, so hopefully we'll have that together. The main thing is to make sure that we have your email. If you registered, we have it. But if you email me, we'll try to get that information to you. Other questions? Well, please go have a break, go get something to eat and drink and use the potty, stretch, stand up and exercise for a little bit. And then Celeste will be back here and we will have our celebration of life talk. Thank you for coming.
I'm Celeste Misfelt, and I'm the memorial coordinator here at this church. My topic is celebration of life planning. My little subtitle is, we want you to plan now and give your family a gift. I have an uncomfortable topic. We don't like to think about dying. We don't like to confront death. Our culture doesn't talk about it a lot, and neither do other cultures. Some of us maybe here as individuals are uncomfortable with the subject, preferring to avoid it. However, it does come to everyone. It's a part of life. So perhaps we can find a way to normalize it just a little bit more, prepare ourselves, and especially we can help our families. All of you have probably been to some memorial service, funeral service, graveside, and you've heard all the lovely things people have said about the departed person. I love actually hearing all those stories. I love to hear about the person because I may only know this part of them. Maybe I know their family life, but I don't know all the other part. So think for a minute, how do you want to be remembered? What's important to you? Is it your work life, your family life? Maybe some struggles you've overcome? Maybe what brings you joy? Perhaps it's how you lived your Christian faith that is important to you, or your values and your character. Maybe it's your passions and how you spend your time, how much you love your family and friends. Maybe you'd like people to know about your favorite scriptures, your favorite pets, your favorite vacations, your favorite hobbies. So I'd like you to keep that in mind. How do you want to be remembered as we go through today? I want you to be able to give a gift to your family while you're still alive. If you haven't planned, plan now. Write things down. You've heard it's important medically. It's important for your end of life as well. Think about the wishes for when you die. Talk with your family. Sometimes that's hard. Maybe your family member doesn't want to talk about it. I encourage you to try. Make the necessary decisions. Make the necessary burial, cremation arrangements. Make sure you have a trust and a will. And this one you wouldn't necessarily think about. Write your own biography, maybe a shorter one and a longer one. When you're gone, there may be things your children and grandchildren don't know about you. It'd be a great thing to do now and share with them now. But it's also a big help when you die to have those already written, and your family doesn't have to go looking and trying to figure out about this part of your life they didn't know about or whatever. So I would encourage you to do that. And write down your personal wishes. Some of the things we've talked about here already on this slide and the other previous slide. We have a form at the end to get you started, and our desire is for you to help put out there your end-of-life wishes and help plan your own celebration of life. So when we were talking about doing this presentation today, I have to give Suzanne Williams also credit. She's been busy with her grandbaby and then has been sick, so she's not able to be here. But it was Terry and Suzanne and I over a year ago, about a year and a half, started thinking about doing this. So I'm so delighted to have you all here. Suzanne has done a lot of music at funerals and weddings. I am a harpist, so I've done lots of playing at those. But how I got started as a memorial coordinator was a gift my mom gave to me. She was very organized. She was very particular. And so she had it all written down long before she was going to heaven. And it really helped. I knew exactly what she wanted. I knew who she wanted to sing. She was a vocalist. And I knew her favorite hymns. I knew her favorite scriptures. She had literally written out how she wanted the service to go. So that was a gift, just that I didn't have to figure that out. But the other part of that gift was she died in 2009, and the church at that time was in an interim period, and there was no pastor, no memorial coordinator. Hello, I'm it. I have 3 older brothers. It's usually the daughter that does that. So, we knew, my brother and I, he lived with my folks, and we went through our list of what we need to do. I had a program already written, a few months ahead of time, typed up, just ready to put in the final details. And so her having done that was just a tremendous help to me, and I got a former pastor to help do that service. So after that experience, I was at a former church, and I did another memorial. I helped. And then after that, I kind of got baptized with a memorial for 700 people. I was a well-known pastor, and not having really done this, I helped put this huge memorial on. It was actually a funeral. And so after that, I kind of said, oh, I have some experience. And God put it on my heart that this is a ministry he'd like me to do. So I did that with that pastor for almost a decade. I learned from her experience and knowledge, and we kind of perfected it. And now I've been the memorial coordinator here for about a year and a half. So that's my journey. So what we're going to walk through quickly today are 4 aspects. We've got our decisions, burial, location options, including some information for veterans, graveside and memorial planning, final arrangements, which were all those other tasks besides planning a service, and then the personal wishes end-of-life form. So let's start going. There are decisions always to be made. These are some you can make now, or else your family will have to make them when you die. There's the burial options. Burial versus cremation. Do you want a grave, a niche, an urn? Do you want your ashes scattered? Where do you want all this to take place? And are there graves or niches available? There's service options. Memorial versus funeral. The difference being, in a funeral, the casket and body are present. And often, of course, the Catholic faith traditionally has funerals, and then they would also have a funeral mass. So that's really the difference between a memorial and funeral. Our tradition typically has memorials, but I have done both memorials and funerals. You may have a viewing or a wake. That's another service that people may want. You may have a graveside instead of a memorial or from a funeral, or you may have it in addition. And then there you have cremation, then you may want your ashes scattered, and that could be another service. Location for the services, of course, church, mortuary, cemetery. If you want your ashes scattered, do you want it in the ocean? Do you want it from a mountaintop, from a plane? There's options. So some of the decisions you might want to think about now. Then there are decisions that you or your families will make when someone dies. General time frame for when you're going to have the service. Does it need to be right away, or can it wait? Is your extended family able to come? Or do they have some big event coming up and you have to delay? I will say after COVID, that's a gift from COVID that there's no urgency. You can do it whenever you want. It's become, there's no set thing that's the right way. You might want a reception after the service. And after the service and the reception, you may want yet a family gathering or meal after all of the other events. So these are decisions that will happen at the time that someone dies. I want to just spend a couple minutes on veterans. There's a man who started attending here recently, Bill McCorkadale. He's a chaplain and he's with the United Veterans Council of Santa Clara County. He goes around and gives this talk, but he couldn't be here today. So I've condensed his bullet points, and you have a handout with his information on it in your folders. There are veterans' interment and burial options. There's locations for burials, no-cost graveside service at the Veterans Administration National Cemeteries. Also at select California cemeteries. What the VA will pay for if you request it. A headstone at all cemeteries. I had no idea. My dad was a veteran, but I didn't know some of this. All funeral homes will provide, if you request, a flag. And if they may coordinate a flag folding and presentation ceremony with the military, but they will give you a folded flag even if you don't have the ceremony during the service. I didn't put any information for the Veterans Administration offices. I know there are 3. There's one in Santa Clara, one in San Jose, and I can't remember the third, but you can just look it up. I have this form. DD-214, if anyone's a veteran. You need to know where it is or request a copy if you want to take advantage of some of those veterans options. Now I have a little video, 2 minutes, that says a little bit more about.
Did you know whether you choose to be buried in a VA National Cemetery or a private cemetery, VA can help? Did you know memorial services at any one of our meticulously maintained VA National Cemeteries are provided at no charge to veterans, their spouses, and other eligible family members? Did you know these VA services can save families thousands of dollars? VA provides compassionate professional memorial and burial services to ease families through the loss of their loved one. VA memorial services may include burial in a VA National Cemetery, the opening and closing of the gravesite, grave liner, inscribed headstones or markers, a burial flag and presidential memorial certificate, and perpetual care of the gravesite. With new VA National, state, and tribal cemeteries opening soon, almost every veteran will have a burial option within about an hour's drive from home. If your family prefers a private cemetery, VA provides a headstone, marker, or medallion, a burial flag, and a presidential certificate. VA grave sites cannot be reserved. However, veterans and spouses can now apply to determine eligibility at any time. At the time of need, contact a funeral home to arrange burial at a national cemetery. To schedule a burial, fax the DD-214 form or other discharge papers to 866-900-6417 or scan and email to nca.scheduling@va.gov. Then call 800-535-1117 to follow up. VA honors the service and sacrifice of veterans and their family members. To find out more about VA memorial benefits, explore VA today.
And I did misspeak. I think the veterans papers are back on the table, not in your folders, because I wasn't sure everyone needed one. So please pick that up if you'd like. All right, I want to walk quickly through some of the planning. So basic process. Graveside planning. It can involve us with a pastor and assistants or not. You would contact the cemetery, ask them what steps you need to take, think about a date, confirm that date with your family, and then confirm with the date and time with the cemetery. Might depend on pastor availability, musician availability. Then you'd plan with the pastor and your family. Maybe to have to decide, do you want family only? Or do you want to invite everyone, particularly if this is your only service you may be having? Do you want, again, to plan a reception or a lunch or something afterwards? Do you want a printed program or mementos? If this were the only service you were having, you might want to bring some things to share from that person's life. For a graveside, it's usually a little shorter, 15 minutes to 45 minutes. Gives you time to let family and friends speak. Pastor's message might be just a little shorter, maybe 10 minutes and some prayer. Music's a nice addition, but I am a musician, so I think so. It's a lovely time. I often have played before while people are gathering at the graveside. So think about that. I wanted to walk through the celebration of life planning process here at church. So why do we call it celebration of life? As Christians, we hope we're celebrating someone being with Jesus. That's a celebration. And we hopefully will be celebrating the life that they had here on this earth, be it brief or long. That's not to say that we don't know it's a very sorrowful time and sad time for people. But the overall feeling we want is, let's remember this person well. And in that sense, it's a celebration of life. So you would first contact the caring pastor, the church office, or the memorial coordinator. You check your preferred date and time with one of those. Any of those people can do that. And then the coordinator would confirm. Depend on pastor availability, room availability, not so much the coordinator availability. Some of you have been memorial coordinators before me, so we have enough people to do that. The options for the campus are sanctuary, chapel, and social hall. Typically have the service in the sanctuary, maybe a reception in the chapel. Can also have a reception in the social hall. Maybe you want the service a little more intimate and have that in the chapel. Lately, we've been opening up the coffee shop since it's not open to the public, and we can kind of have the reception flow into there. You can do everything if you want in right here. You can have the service seated here, have tables back there, and have a service and go straight to the reception. So all those are options. There are planning meetings with the pastor and the coordinator. The pastor, of course, is more caring about the family. That's the pastor's job, is to care for you, see how you're doing. Maybe talk to you about your loved one. When someone dies, you want to talk about them. The pastor is there for that kind of support and care for you. While I, as a coordinator, look at a little bit more of the logistics. So we may meet together. Often we do one meeting. Part of it's the pastor and part of it's me. And then maybe we need another meeting. We have 2 sheets that we give to you, which I did not include. It's the memorial service planning sheet. It has personal and service details. Do you want a funeral? Do you want a graveside? Whatever that is. logistics, and it explains the family responsibilities. Another form we give to families is the memorial service family memories. And multiple people can fill this out. There's only a handful of questions. What was your favorite memory of your loved one? Do you remember a humorous story about them? Those kinds of questions. It's a way to draw out from you your relationship with that person a bit, and it gives the pastor some better understanding or maybe a fuller understanding of this person. Because sometimes we're doing it for a parent that the pastor hasn't really met. And so this is very helpful for them to shape their remarks. We discuss the service order, logistics, any special requests like taps or the flag ceremony or something else that might happen. And then there's some other handouts that I'll talk about in a minute. Of course, we continue to coordinate with you through the service. The day of the service, we have the family meet with the pastor and coordinator. Currently, we do it in the Yosemite room, which many of you know is the bride's room. It's a place for the family to gather. And then we can walk through the service and find out if you have any questions or if there have been any changes. And that's often happens, and that's okay. Changes at the last minute, things can change. That doesn't throw us. We want to make it however you want it. And of course, we would pray with the family beforehand. So one of the handouts we give is this item for families consideration, which I believe is in your folder. Has details, doesn't look exactly like this, has details like for a memorial or funeral service, it's a little bit longer, an hour to hour and a half. Who is going to give a eulogy? Who's going to memorialize them? Or is it all just going to be reflections, personal reflections? Opportunities for family and close friends to participate is something you can think about. They might want to read or have a musical offering, or maybe be a guest book host. Sometimes children and maybe even grandchildren, would like to participate somehow, but they don't like to read. So a guest book host and greeting, those kinds of things, gives them a way to participate without having to get in front of the microphone. So that's always a good thing to think about. I want you to think about the favorite scriptures, songs, and poems. Do you want a video or a slideshow? Do you want an open microphone time? Reception details. Here, the deacons provide a cookie and beverage reception. You may also have catered food brought in for a reception, and there's a little extra fee for that. And then it goes through and tells you what your family responsibilities are. Here's how I broke out the responsibilities. The coordinator does all the aspects with the family, any guest pastor. Submits all those paperwork. There's always paperwork. Coordinates with facilities, with the tech team, with musicians. Fortunately, Todd Dunn and I, sometimes he takes point on the music, sometimes I do. So we work together to create that. We help you with the program and the service order, and we'll help print that if you would like. I have the setup, like the lobby and welcome team and reception assistants. Those are things that we offer to you and help coordinate. The family's job is to get a biography, a picture for the program, the video slideshow, and if you want to bring picture boards, mementos, of course that's up to the family. Bring a guest book or maybe just pages or memory cards. Flowers if you want, that's the family responsibility. And any special ceremonies, then that would be you would coordinate with that entity, and then when they get here, we'll help coordinate with them. That's kind of how the responsibilities are broken out. Other handouts we give to them, you also have scripture suggestions and song suggestions, both for congregational singing or solos. So I'm not going to go over those. You have them. All right, celebration of life components. What are we going to do at this celebration of life? First, I just want to say it's as I said before, it's a time to celebrate, but it's also a time of sadness. So it's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh. I've been at many where people had struggled to get through their remarks. It's okay, no one cares. It's your time to share how you felt about your loved one. So don't feel bad or embarrassed. Just be yourself. So there may be a pastoral message, pastoral prayers, speakers to maybe give a eulogy or just reflections. Those are the people I call the planned speakers, usually the real close family, but sometimes a friend. And those names would usually be printed in the program. An open mic, I have said here, if time permits. So if you want your service to not go more than an hour and 15 minutes and you have 6 family members that are speaking and you've given them each 5 minutes to speak, I guarantee it'll be about 45 minutes. So then you probably wouldn't have time for an open mic with all the other components. So it's just something to think about. But if you only have one family member and one friend speaking, then sure, you probably have time for that. And we often leave that up to the pastor as the MC and kind of looking at the family over here, and, or you go for the open mic or not, depending on whether they want to keep the service going. So anyway, I don't often put that in the program just for that reason. Maybe we'll have your favorite scriptures read or poems, and perhaps again, family members would like to do a reading of one of those. And music, again, 1 to 4 songs, favorite hymns and songs for the congregation to sing, maybe special music or solos. Maybe you want music while people are coming in during the prelude or while they're exiting during the postlude. All of those times you can also provide us with recorded songs. We went out recently to Take Me Home Country Roads, so it doesn't have to all be Christian music. Video and slideshow. If you want that, I suggest you start now. Collect those photos, find a way to scan them in, annotate, find someone in your family who would like to do that, a child, even a grandchild. You don't have to tell them you're doing this so you have a slideshow for when you die, you know. You don't have to say that. But it would be a great opportunity for them to just learn about you. You know, oh, this is when I, whatever. And just have a special time of talking about that, and you'll be gathering some things while you're doing that. All right, the actual program, I have a sample in a moment, has a picture, birth and death dates, biography, the service order, maybe printing of a favorite song, poem, so forth, date of the service, church name and address. Optional is where donations in your honor might be sent. Maybe you have a particular place, passion. Information on the reception. More recently, we have things like online guest pages and memory pages that you can go online and leave a memory, so we might include that. Maybe thanks from the family if someone's been ill for a long time and they've received extra care from the church or something like that. Maybe the family's names and the names in like they're the grandson or the granddaughter or whatever, so you kind of identify them. Some people would like that. So I created Saintly Sample. This is my person, and just to walk through a program. So on your left is the back of the program, on your right is the cover. So on the back you see we have a printing of Psalm 23 or some other favorite poem. At the bottom, we have where you would like to direct donations, be it the Humane Society, American Heart Association, Cancer Society, whatever. We put that there. On the front cover, we have the picture of Saintly, her name and her birth and death dates, and the church information. Can have an oval picture, can have a rectangular picture, whatever. I create whatever you want. And I'm going to say right now, while I'm thinking of it, the blue border, I like the borders, so if someone has a favorite color, I change that, or maybe I change the color to match the picture. That's just something I like. The inside spread on the left would be the biography. They are generally about 300 words. I did not put that information anywhere, but if you want, you can keep that in your head. On the right is what I've been calling the service order. So what do we actually do in the service? And you see, I call it, again, celebrating and remembering the life of Saintly Sample and the date of the service. This is just a sample. We started with the video memories, and then we had the welcome and opening prayer from the pastor, had a scripture reading, congregational hymn, and then we have the planned speakers celebrating Saintly's life. And we have family 1, family 2, and friend 1. That's where we would put those names. Then we have some special music. And when I put in special music, it means solo. Someone's going to do that. Then another scripture reading and message from the scriptures from the pastor. Congregational hymn, and then the pastor closes out with a prayer and a benediction. This you can flip many ways. Some people want the pastor's message first, and then they talk. Some people want the video memories later. Maybe they want to speak first because they're afraid they'll be too emotional if they watch the video. So all of this, we work with you to figure out what is best for your particular situation. And you see at the bottom, we have that invitation and information on the reception. So thought that might be interesting, don't know. All right, the third area are those final arrangements, which are basically task lists. Everything besides the memorial, graveside, funeral services. There's a long to-do list when someone dies, including these types of questions, or tasks rather. Who should you call immediately? Who can you wait a couple days to call? What entities do you need to inform right away? Is it a caregiving association? Is it the hospice association? Maybe it's medical equipment you need to return. What arrangements need to be made? Calling the church, calling the mortuary, calling all of those things. You need to locate all this paperwork, policies, legal documents, financial papers. Maybe meet with legal representatives. There's details about your home and services. So I have included in your folder 3 resources. The first one is where we got the name Final Arrangement Checklist. I will show it to you. My brother and I created this a few months before my mom died. We thought, gee, what do we need to do? We hadn't been through it yet. So it's not fancy, but this is just a sample. Who to notify, and there on the right, we would put names, we'd put phone numbers, emails. Maybe now you have URLs you need to put. So it was just a long 2-page list of all these things that we thought, oh, we need to do this, 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 this. There's an organization I've learned about more recently called HELP, Helping the Elderly Live Productively. And you should have a handout on this. This is their URL. And 2 helpful things I found from them is a checklist called When Someone Dies, and a different checklist when your spouse dies. And you have both of those in your folder. Here is their page. I believe I have information that looks like this in there. This is their forms and tools webpage. It's not their home page. There's also a QR code there for you. And so they do all kinds of things. They have financial assistance, legal, healthcare information. So you may want to look into that and see what other information besides those handouts might be useful to you. All right. Now it's time to think about your personal preferences and decisions and wishes. Last, on the right side of your folder should be this purple page. It's called Your Personal Wishes End of Life Form. It's 3 pages. And what we would like for you to be able to do is start filling this out now. Put it in your purple folder. You notice I've done purple and purple. You can tell your family Here's this. Walk through family members once you've got it filled out. This is what I think I want at this moment in time. It may change, if you're younger. But you're never too young to fill something like this out because God could call us home anytime. So it has personal details, location of important documents, names of lawyers, CPAs, your preferences for your burial, etc. Preferences for your celebration of life, like music and scriptures, donations, that kind of information. You can fill in as much detail as you want. And on the last page, we've left some blank space. Let me see what it says. My further personal notes. Maybe you want to say, my grandson gets my Honda motorcycle. I don't know. Whatever it might be, that is something more that you want a personal note. I don't have a motorcycle. That won't be on mine. So the idea is, let me just show you if you haven't found it yet. This is just the first part of it. And we have personal information and starting into the lawyer's name, CPA's name, and things like that. So you can put all that information and have it in one place. What I really encourage you to do is think, make some decisions, make some plans now, and it really will give you your family a gift. Suzanne had just 3 quick stories. The importance of knowing about arrangements. When her mother-in-law passed, they were about ready to sign up a crematory. And all of a sudden, the brother-in-law found a piece of paper that noted they had prepaid arrangements through a different organization. And they had, she says they had the Neptune phone number on a cheat sheet with accounts and such, but it didn't say prepaid. So when they found that other page said it was prepaid, oh, good. But you wouldn't know unless family knows where it is and it's written down. That's also the importance of knowing where the arrangements are located. She says she also, yes, with the biography, she's done a lot of memorial programs and helping people come up with services. And having your biography is always a tough thing. So she couldn't stress enough that is really important to have your own biography. Again, my mom had about 6. It's kind of like a resume. I had no lack of information from her resumes and her biographies. But it's hard, some people, well, gee, we didn't talk about her childhood. I don't know anything. So talking now is helpful. So go ahead and get your biography done. And the last thing she had said that she's always also seen people, and I have too, going through the Bibles to try to find out what is their favorite scriptures, what is their favorite, songs and things. So you can help out by putting them down right on here, and then your family will have information. So I think that is, I just went fast through that. Really would love you to take time to at least fill out 3 things on this purple form before you leave. I can only encourage, I can't make you. I'm not going to check at the door. But really, it's important to do it now. Don't delay. You may think, oh, I've got 20 years. Well, maybe. So make these decisions and start filling this out. Also, I want to remind you to go ahead and fill out that survey form. On the left side, as you go out, left side of the table, there's a box to put those in. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Some people like to put that. We just included it. And you note on here, we have like a mother's maiden name and a social security number. You only write that, and it says right there, only write that on your personal copy. You don't want to give a copy of that to anyone else. proprietary information which can get out there and wreak havoc with your life. So you don't have to fill it all in. I'm trying to think why you would need to know that, and right at the moment I'm not coming up with a good answer. Maybe trying to think of the questions on the death certificate. That might be a place, but I haven't looked at one of those in a while. Yes? The question is about death certificates. And I will tell you from personal experience, I paid to have the official death certificate drawn up, and then I could make my copies. And I started taking them to the bank and the investment and so forth. They wanted their own. So even though you have a copy of the death certificate, they want you to fill out their own often. So you don't usually need 10 copies. I think that's what you get when it's kind of 10, but you don't need that many. If you had 3, that would probably be enough, because you'll find when you go to these different entities, they're going to want you to fill out their own. And you can show them this one that's been notarized or whatever it was, but they still want you to fill out your own. It was very frustrating to me. But I've already done this. Too bad. So, yeah, that I learned by experience. Any other questions? All right. Oh, yes.
It was the copy, and they want the original. But in regards to death certificates, the financial planner, if you know who the financial planner is, you can call them and they'll tell you, look at the stuff and say you'll need 5. If you don't know, when you're at this mortuary, which was startling for me, in both scenarios, for my father and my stepmother, before they do anything, they said, what is the social security number of the person who deceased? And if you don't know how many death certificates, they say 5. We'll start with that. I can order later. And in one case, we needed a couple more. In the other, we didn't even need all 5. So it really varies. And what she just said is each of these entities have their own process. So with my stepmother, even though I did certain things, each financial planner entity, okay, I'm going to fill out this paper again that I did for them, but now I'm doing it for you, that kind of thing. So you just have to go with the flow. But it's really important that you have that Social Security number right away. I was kind of like, that's the most important thing we're going to do, the first thing, but that's what happened. So anyway, I'd like to say that this is excellent. I've done some things for myself, but I see there are a few more things I need to do myself. And if you live a distance from your family, like I did, if there's a crisis, life stops. I was out of here. You didn't see me for 2 months here at this church. I dropped everything. So if you can make everything as simple as possible, maybe it'll only be 4 weeks or 2 weeks. But anyway, this was excellent. I'm very, very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll turn off the microphone. Well, thank you all for coming so much. We appreciate it. Our passion, both Terry and I, are to help you, make it easier for you and your families. So thank you. Go in peace, and I hope you don't need this information for a long time.